This is number 11 in my countdown of the top 50 games in my collection. This is Sagrada. A couple back we built tile walls in Portugal. Now we're going to be building stained glass windows in Spain. This is a die placement game. It plays 1 to 4 players. You can play solo. It's not that there are better solo games out there. Best with 3, probably best with 4. It takes about 45 minutes to play. Difficulty is probably a 3 out of 5. 10 and up could handle it, age-wise. So the way the game works, first you will take your player board. I took the one that I'm using as the display. Take your player board, and you will have an option to pick. Well, you have to pick one of the patterns that you are going to try to complete. And then say I took this one's called Chromatic Splendor, so I will, and it slides right into the player board. Now there are certain rules that you have to follow with these player boards. So I don't know how well you can see that. There's colors, so you have to place dice of those colors in those spaces. And there's numbers, that's the shade of, or how dark the glass is. You would have to place dice of those numbers in those spaces. So, yeah, here's another example you can probably see a little better. Now each one of these cards has a number of dots down on the bottom to show you how difficult it is. I think the lowest I've seen is 3, and the highest I've seen is 6 or maybe even 7. So however many of those you get these glass beads. I think that was a 6. And you keep those on your player board. That's kind of a balancer to how difficult to even the playing field. So you got that, and then each player is going to be secretly given one of these shades. The 5 different colored dice that are in the bag is going to be secretly given one of these and slid underneath. At the end of the game, for each die of this color, you get to count all the pips on the die and score that many points. So you want to keep that secret because people will take your color away from you. And they'll probably figure it out as the game goes on. As you keep grabbing the green dice, they'll say, okay, his is a green, so I'm going to try and grab the green dice. There's also going to be 2 random extra bonuses for each game, or maybe 3. I think it's 3. That will be put out, and this is medium shades. For each set of 3s and 4 values anywhere on your board, you'll get 2 points at the end of the game. Color variety, if you have a complete set of colors, you get 4 points at the end of the game. If you have a column of all different colors, you'll get 5 points. If you have diagonals, you'll get points for however long the diagonal run is. And then they do the shades up and down. So that adds a randomness to the game. It adds to the replayability. So 3 of those will be put out. And then there are 3 tools that are put out. And these tools let you cheat with a die placement. And I'll get to placing the dice in a minute. And they each have a cost. How much it'll cost. Actually, it doesn't have a cost. If you're going to use one and you first one use it, it costs 1. After that, everyone has to pay 2 to use that tool, and that's where these little beads come into play. For every one of these you have at the end of the game, you get a bonus point that are still on your player board. So there's some advantage to not using them all. Get a point here or there. So you're going to try and fill out your board. You're going to focus on your color. You're going to focus on these rules. When you fill in your grid, you have to start from an outer edge, and then you always have to place adjacent to one of the dice that's already has been played. You can play diagonally. The rules are you can't play the same color orthogonally, vertical or horizontal, next to the same color, and you can't play the same number, same rules, orthogonally, next to same the same number. But sometimes these let you change it. These let you take a die out, pick up a die that you've used, put it down, put it back. Let you re-roll a die after you've drafted it. So during a turn, the first player, depending on the number of players, will grab a certain number of dice. So in a 4-player game, you're going to grab 9 dice at random out of the bag, and I grabbed 10, so not bad. And then you're going to roll them. And now it is a die drafting game. So the first player, or not the person that rolled, but that player is going to draft which die he's going to think. Oh, okay, so this guy wanted green, needs high number of greens, so he's going to take this green 6 and put it on this green spot, or he could put it down here on the 6 and save that green spot for later. And then the next player would go, and they would take a die. And then the next player would go, and they would take a die. And then the last player would go, and he would get 2 dice, or they would get 2 dice. And then back to this player, and finally back to the first player. And now he's got a choice of a red 4 or a purple 2. Well, he's probably going to put the red 4 right there, and then this purple 2 goes back there. There's 10 rounds of the game, and this will get filled up. There's tools that let you take dice from the leftover dice. At the end of the game, you will score your points. You lose points for open spaces. Yeah, and it's that simple. It's a beautiful game. As the board fills up, I know that I'm cheating because I'm putting light colors and numbers next to each other, but it will look as just a little pretty game that you're building something as you play. And I keep cheating because I grabbed too many red dice. Okay, yeah, that is number 11, Sagrada, in the countdown. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for number 10 for the kids.